All right, guys, what is going on? Hope everybody is having a very good and blessed morning. Like always, I want to start out the show and by doing a microphone check. If you guys can hear me, please press 1. If you guys can hear me, please press 1. Spread the word that we are live. I did something a little new this time, and I did a 24-hour schedule. That way people had enough time to sit there and put the little bell on, because I have so many people telling me that they never get notified when I go live. So I figured, well, hey, we'll give everybody a 24-hour live feed, a chance to turn that little bell on and wait for the alarm. Thank you guys for hitting 1. I do appreciate you guys for doing that. I just made this little quick intro not even 10 minutes ago, this one here. So literally just real quick, I'm gonna make another one and it'll be a lot better than that one there. Just wanted to do something a little bit different. Now, every Monday and Friday, we are gonna start doing the Let's Talk About It podcast. So every Monday and Friday, you guys will have the time, well, the chance to call in and be a voice and let's talk about it. You guys could share your thoughts and you can share your opinions. Your opinions does count, and you guys have been a huge blessing for our boys and myself and everyone involved with United We Stand. You guys have made a lot of stuff happen. And I do thank you guys and I appreciate you guys. So I'm not sure if you guys can see on the screen Crenshaw's live stream from the other night. She went on extremely late. It was like 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And the live feed was like 5 hours. So we're not going to play the whole thing. We're just going to play a piece of it. She does provide a little bit more information that I did not provide on my live stream from the other day in regards to the conflict of interest with Thomas Hernandez, badge 954. I'll go down through the comments real quick. Okay, so we have Peggy, Linda, Sugar, Mama, Pretty Young Thing. Big shout out to all of you guys, Carmel, Mary, Ann. We have Ebony, Victoria, Trisha, Diana King. I appreciate you guys all being here. And once again, every Monday and Friday, we will be doing the Let's Talk About It podcast. Now, before we get into this video, let's go ahead and clear up something with that rumor mill. It has to be addressed because I have so many people that keep on reaching out, contacting me, asking me, are the boys found? And let me explain where that came from, where that little rumor came from. It was from someone who called in on that last podcast we did. You guys remember, right? Well, on that last podcast we did, a lady called in, and the way she was speaking made a lot of people believe that it was a fact, 100% fact, that the boys were found. None of us have heard that. none of the boots on the ground out here, none of us at all has heard anything like that at all. And I would like to believe that law enforcement, even though there's some sticky things going on, that they would at least let all of us know something like that, because that's huge, guys. So the lady that called in, she has superpowers. And what happened was she's a psychic. And she said she was in touch with, I guess, the district attorney or something like that. Then I asked her the question, well, are you a psychic? And she said, yes, I am. And all of a sudden, people, well, one person started this rumor that the boys were found, blah, 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 blah. And that's not true. And still, this was what, 2 days ago? I still have people contacting me and asking me. So that's the reason why we're going to clear that up right now. I know Crenshaw cleared it up on her live stream the other day. You'll actually hear her talk about that right here as well. Most of you guys know who Crenshaw is. And if you guys don't know, you guys go check her out. All right, so let's go check out her video. And Crenshaw, if she's in here, right? If Crenshaw's in here, please feel free to join the stream if you like. I'm going to go ahead and share the link right now. Let's see here. Okay, give me a second, guys. Okay, there's the link. StreamYard is right there if you want to join. If not, it's fine. So let's go ahead and take a look now. We're going to do a quick audio check. Once I hit play, I'm going to stop it, and you guys let me know if you can hear her audio from her video.
What people can prove to you. Do we even know that?
Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear Crenshaw's audio? I want to make sure before we go any further. So press 1 if you guys can hear her audio from that video. All right, fantastic. Let's go ahead and get this on the road. Here we go, guys. I'll do the best I can to not interrupt. It's not going to be the whole live feed. It is a very long live feed, but we'll start from right here.
When people are saying that, and I don't know this person to say, I have no opinion on this matter when it comes to that, other than the fact that I generally don't believe in things that are, when a person has a reputation for giving conflicting information, it's hard for me to believe what that person just because they said it is saying. Does that make sense?
All right, so just to catch you guys up, what she's talking about are the folks that go by the title psychic. We've had a lot of people contact us, and I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was like a week or so after the boys came up missing, and I was out there at Hart Park running around everywhere looking because somebody called in and said, hey, the boys are inside of an ice chest, and there is a chain around it. You don't have much time. You need to get over there right now. And come to find out, the person that called me and said that she has superpowers, and her superpowers led us out there. And of course, you guys know we found nothing. Let's go ahead and get back to it.
So I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who don't have maybe some type of a gift where they're able to like sense things or feel things. But when a person changes their narrative every week, then I can't. There's too many actual facts that I need to follow and verify and cross-reference, and people that need to be interviewed.
Hey, let me. I want to welcome Crenshaw to the screen. Crenshaw, thank you for joining. I appreciate that.
Okay, yeah. You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Thanks. I'm glad I got to catch your live. I know with this situation with that lady, I kind of I think we have a very similar feeling in general when it comes down to, people
Hmm.
in this field, and from my experience, um, it's there's no like really like nice way to say it, but it's just I just don't believe it. And a lot of people, they're like, oh, you should, or you have to watch people. And let me tell you why I feel the way that I feel about
Hmm.
people who are on YouTube doing this. I've had my heart like in the like in the bottom of my stomach before going up to Bakersfield because
Right.
somebody said that one of the babies was go it was in a fire pit. Okay, it was gonna be found dead in a fire pit. Little come to find out later on that it came from a psychic, right? But not only that, do you know what it's like to watch a biological family members have their hearts broken when they're told the babies are alive
Right.
in this place, or they're dead somewhere else, and it's all because some psychic said so? So
Right.
they damage is overwhelming, and I don't care to put people down. That's not what I'm trying to do, but I prefer not to deal with these type of people. And if you are in that profession or field or whatever, you really just still should have a lot of care about, just and really think about what you're saying, because a lot of people are going to be affected and hurt, and because and I might not believe what they're saying, but there's a lot of people that do. And it causes a lot of pain.
Right.
So yeah, so that's why I said what I said. I don't even remember, but I what I said. But that really upset me, and I went to her channel after that. I'd never been to it before ever. I didn't know who she was, and I asked a
Hmm.
question. I just asked a question like underneath one of the videos because I watched maybe 5 minutes of it. And in the video, she says that they were found, and then she said that they're no longer living. They're in a better place because they're in heaven. And I'm like, so what are you saying?
Right.
Because within 5 minutes you just gave two conflicting statements. So now I just assume that you just are trolling for views.
Right. Yeah, that's the way
And
I took it like that as well.
yeah, so yeah. So that's why I feel how I feel. And and if people ever had to experience like, what I've went through, or I'm sure you went through too.
Right.
You, as a matter of fact, I know you have, because you've been sent out, certain places, and we have, shovels, and we're looking at it all, and then sometimes it's because we find out later on that some psychic told us to be there. All well, people don't know what it's like to be looking for a baby's body and praying that they don't have to find it, and all of it was unnecessary, and time could have been used more efficiently, all because some psychic wanted you know attention.
Right. Since you're since you're here, Crenshaw, instead of us looking over the video, you want to maybe catch people up to speed that might not have seen your live stream yet
Yeah,
about
sure.
the conflict of
Um
interest involving this cop Thomas Hernandez.
yeah, sure. So basically, and if people too, you could let me know if there's if people have questions they want me to answer. So
Let me just read through it real quick. Hey guys, you guys can hear Crenshaw, right? If any of you guys have any questions, please uh leave a comment and I will highlight it on the screen. And on top of that, towards the end of this, I will give you guys an opportunity to call in if anybody has any questions as well. You could call in. Just not right now, towards the end. All right, yeah, they can hear you. Go ahead, Crenshaw. Sorry about that.
oh yeah, no problem. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I could just briefly try to start from the beginning, which is months ago. actually from the very from slightly after I met Ro, I informed her of the importance of the paperwork when I realized that, there was only, it's going to be hard to prove anything or make changes if because I believed the story. I believed what Ryan and what Ro's cousin were saying about how the case was handled. But it's one thing to know the truth or hear the truth. It's something else to actually have documentation to prove and back up what that is. So, when we finally were able to get the paperwork because he had his own copy, um, we noticed that it said Officer Hernandez in the paperwork. And at first in the from page one, right? So at first I was like, okay, that's such a common last name. It could be a coincidence, but kept it in the back of my mind, right? As I'm going through more pages and getting through, and I'm finally, and then I come across the page in which it says his first name, his last name, and his badge number. Here's the thing. I called the Bakersfield Police Department. Actually, no, they've never returned any of my messages. So one time, actually, I think it was a time that you were there as well in Bakersfield, and maybe the Black Chambers of Commerce Day. That is the day that it was. I went to the police station, and they have this red phone that's like only if it's an extreme emergency you're supposed to pick it up. But I picked it up to demand to know who the lead investigator was, because at that time Bakersfield was in charge of the case, and they weren't even disclosing who the lead detective was, which is kind of crazy.
Right.
So, it was just so weird that every time that was spoke about on the news or anything, the investigator in charge of the case never spoke. So for that reason, I was like, okay. So, then when I had the name, I got the badge number at that time as well. So I knew it matched. And Ro was given a card of his directly to her. And like the thumbnail that you're using on this particular video, that is that card. Okay.
This one
So
here.
that's the one. So that also has his badge number on it. So
Hmm.
at that point in time, I knew, we 100% without a shadow of a doubt definitely have the correct person, and it is the same person. Now, this is where it gets concerning. The paperwork is okay. They were able to track down, nobody was, hiding anyways, the biological fathers and ask them to come in because they have to do a paternity test before they can even adopt kids out or anything. You have to prove that you at least,
Right.
um, otherwise, a biological parent could come back and say, well, oh, well, I wasn't, I didn't know. So what they did in this case is after they established the paternity, they should have, according to their own policy, given the fathers the opportunity to fight for the children. Their time should have started right then. That is the Child Protective Services policy and procedure. So when they established paternity, very soon, right after that, there was a
Hmm.
court date, and that was the final court date that the kids were being adopted out. So
Mm.
they never had the opportunity. Now, so this is what makes it a conflict of interest, because I've seen a couple comments, not now or anything like, but just in general on other people's channels, or people saying like, what? How is how would that be a conflict of interest? And that doesn't make it a conflict of interest. Maybe he just there's hundreds of
Thank you.
Bakersfield Police Department employees, okay? But
Hmm.
also, the reason why it's a conflict of interest mainly is based on the fact alone that the case was not handled by the book. It wasn't there. It was a premature adoption. They rushed the adoption. On top of that, there was in the interim of that. So first they go to they get placed in the first foster home, and then lo and behold, Thomas Hernandez shows up and
Wow.
removes the kids from that home, and they go to the West.
Hmm.
They go to stay with the West, which is also very odd because they're living in an apartment. They already have 4 children at the time. The whole thing is weird. It's bizarre. Mind you, in January 3rd to be exact, when Jamal, it was only 2 weeks after the boys were reported missing, Jamal Watkins is already on Facebook telling people that are his Facebook friends or whatever, like, oh, if anyone's bothering you or harassing you, just contact Officer Hernandez, and writes the dude's email address.
Wow.
So I mean, when you talk about like corruption, it's like, how is this possible?
Right. And that's when you were trying to get, I mean, pretty much a lot of people were trying to get information from Bakersfield, and nothing was being given out by Bakersfield. They're telling people to call California City, but yet Jamal Watkins was telling people to call Thomas Hernandez, right?
I'm sorry, you said, what was that last thing you said?
The whole Bakersfield thing, right? So before Bakersfield even had the case, when we were calling up there, when you called up there and other people called up there, everyone was told to call California City, right? That they were,
Absolutely. I mean, completely and absolutely. They wouldn't even take my a message, from me when I called up to Bakersfield Police Department. I was begging them. I was begging them to investigate, do a forensic investigation on the um, house on Potomac, because the backyard looked like a crime scene. Remember? So I was never. They always told me that the California City Police Department is leading the investigation, and they were the ones that were receiving tips. I even went so far as to go on Bakersfield Police Department's Twitter. I rarely tweet, and multiple times, okay,
mhm,
asking them why it is that they don't even have a phone number on when they shared, like, okay, Bakersfield Police Department, when they shared something about the boys, they said to call either the California City Police Department or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So they made it very clear that they had nobody leading there was no lead investigator, there was no investigator, they had nobody in charge of the investigation in Bakersfield at all, until when we all found, until a couple months ago. So the fact that Jamal Watkins was already so close to him that he was sending anyone, his way, just to deal with, if you're being harassed, because people were saying something,
right.
that he didn't like, to contact him. So it's all very weird. It's all very weird. Oh yeah, and then another thing that lady said, I just noticed a comment too. That lady, when
Mhm,
she was up here, she said they're no longer on the FBI website or something. And here's the thing,
yeah,
she said they're not on the FBI website anymore. The word "anymore" would imply that they ever were, right?
right,
Anymore means they once were and aren't now. They
right.
weren't,
They
because
never, they never were,
the FBI
right.
is no. So I don't know what that was about either, but I don't know. Uh,
I think when she said that, that was her just trying to make it seem a little bit more authentic what she was saying. Have a little bit more, backup. Maybe they took them down
and
from the
then
FBI's list because they have been found.
and then someone said, I guess somebody asked in the chat, why did the bio dad wait so long to get the kids? I don't know what the hell that they're talking about, because, or if they were even listening to what I was saying. They weren't even asked to get. They What do you mean wait so long to get the kids? Like, that they weren't
Hmm.
even given the opportunity to have a case with them, and they should have had a case. They were never given that opportunity.
Hmm.
After you imagine getting called in to take a paternity test, in the same way that they contacted them to come in
Hmm.
to take a paternity test, they should have been contacted and said, okay, yes, you are the father, so now you have the 18 months or however many months to um try to
Right.
regain custody of your children. And they did not give them that opportunity. They just figured that they didn't know any better, and they didn't, and so they rush the adoption.
Even with Ryan Dean had a court date that she didn't know about, huh? Was it Valentine's Day or something like that when they took her rights from her?
I don't really know. I don't remember the date or anything like that, but that was that was the very last. That was the
Right.
very last date. Yeah, and so, but by law, it was CPS is supposed to give family members the opportunity to fight for, um, yeah,
Right.
the children, and they didn't do that in this case, and that is exactly why a man like Thomas Hernandez or the other officer who's listed in the
Hmm.
paperwork, right?
Hmm.
That's exactly why men like that would not want these
Hmm.
boys to be found, because it's going to open up that original case and it's going to show the involvement. Like, I just don't understand how he's the one at at the hospital from day one, but he's also the one taking the interview. And that's another thing too. Isn't it CPS's responsibility? Doesn't CPS make the decision to,
Absolutely.
if a child needs to be played? So why is it then that it was these two police officers that were they actually told the CPS worker not to ask them other questions, and then they went and they interviewed the other children in the home alone,
Right.
without
Right.
a parent or guardian present. So of course they're not going to want this case file to, this finding the boys would be more attention on this case. And that's why when people are like, oh, well, what if like the bio mom has them? I'm like, don't, they would love that. If a biological family member had it, the cops would arrest them so quick and fast because they would lose all of their credibility,
Right.
and the case would just, it would just be closed. So that's exactly why this is a problem. It's a huge problem that officer needs to step down,
Hmm.
from lead investigator on this case. It's really disgusting that all this time has been wasted. I'm further disgusted that the leads that have been provided to him, he has not followed up on. I know this firsthand from going to the cities in which he was supposed to follow up on leads and has not.
Right.
And no, not even so much as called, but pretended to family members that that leads were being followed up on. I can't tell you how many times I'm still waiting on a call back. And what month are we in?
Right.
Nobody wants to talk to me. I'm sure he knows who I am by now, so he's just like, won't be returning.
We have a question on the screen. Can you see that?
Amazing when the situation fits y'all's narrative, it's totally wrong. But when thugs break the law and get in trouble with the law, it's the police's fault, especially in California, America's new, I think they mean shithole. I
Yeah.
don't understand what narrative is being referenced there, because a narrative would what, like, this isn't a story like this. I'm going off of documentation that is official court paperwork, so I'm not going off
Absolutely.
of
And then
anything.
I've spoke to 3 retired officers, and I've all asked them. I've told them what was going on. They watched the live feeds, and each one of them have said that cops, they can't sit there and tell CPS, what to do and what you were just talking about right now. So what happened is we have Thomas Hernandez. He was telling CPS what to do. Crenshaw, is that what I'm understanding?
he was telling he was
As
telling
far as they were like you said, they were interviewing the other kids without the parents, and they were basically telling CPS.
Yeah, it's in the paperwork. Yes, the officer, the CPS worker that was called. Okay, so I don't know why. So the whole thing was very bizarre,
Mhm.
because I mean, I'm about to. I'm in the midst right now too of researching other cases. It's hard to get a lot of facts, but I know I can get, like, certain things, because I don't know if it's common practice for them to contact so many different entities, if there's for a broken, fracture
Mhm.
on a child. So Officer Hernandez is there, and then he said that even though the baby, that they said that we're going to transfer the baby to another place, like, that's specialized in the for the fracture that was in his leg, that
Mhm.
he says that he wasn't allowed to the baby wasn't allowed. He didn't want anyone to go anywhere until the other officer got there. So they're waiting on this, officer. And when he gets
Mhm.
there, okay, then when the CPS worker comes in, she writes in the report that she was told she saw the mother, but was
Mhm.
instructed by the officer not to speak to her, which was bizarre to me, because how is she going to make a proper assessment on the situation, or on if the CPS needs to be involved, unless she has a conversation with the parents?
Right.
So, yeah.
This person has made a they have a good question. It's right here on the screen. It's actually a statement. The police and CPS can only get away with this with a judge on their side.
Okay, I don't know why people are really hung up on the judge thing, because the judge only is, I mean, there, listen, are there corrupt judges out there? Absolutely. Do I necessarily think that that's the case in this particular instance? I haven't, I mean, the thought that there's so many different entities, like,
Mhm.
all conspiring together is I'll put it like this. The judges have how many cases do you think in just one day? They go off of the paperwork that is being presented to them. So if that paperwork states
By
that
law enforcement.
it's an
Right.
issue, that's an issue of child abuse because the social worker is saying so and the cop is saying so, then why wouldn't the judge sign off on that? Do you
Right.
think the judge is a judge is not a private investigator? A judge isn't going to go asking questions to the rest of the police staff and nurse, that's unrealistic. So I don't know why people are so hung up on judges
Yeah,
lately.
so basically whatever the cop writes in the report,
And
CPS writes in the
yes,
report.
yeah, and the social worker, exactly.
Right, and then he just looks at it real quick and just says, "Okay." No questions
Well, yeah,
asked.
that's what
Just
judges,
okay.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. That's what judges do, right? I mean,
That
unless
is
unless
yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure that we all have seen courtrooms in which the judge is presented with the case file, right?
Mhm.
Go over it, and they can make a decision. Are there corrupt judges? Absolutely. There's corruption in every form of, the court system, and, different law enforcement and everything else. But I don't want to, I'm not going to publicly state anything like that if I have
Right.
nothing to base that off of. But even like this is like a really good like statement too. It's if people just think about it like this, it's, imagine that your children were taken from you, right? Or they're and the officer that is insisting that happens and insisting your children are removed, and would you want that same officer in being in charge of your case when it comes to finding them now that they're missing? Who would want that in their right mind? Who would think yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
And
I
is it
want
this
that.
is the same officer, right? Thomas Hernandez that removed the boys from the foster parent as well, right? The other foster parent.
Exactly.
You want to catch everybody up
And
to
gave
speed on
them
that one, or
gave them to Trezell West, who just happens to be friends with, I guess, his he just happens to be friends with Trezell West's brother Jamal. He has some affiliation with him because clearly he has an affiliation with him.
right? Now, how did you want to catch people up to speed on that? How did that take place with that lady and them taking them from her, if you're able to?
Uh, I don't think. I'm allowed because there's like a turn.
Gotcha.
See, I
Gotcha.
see like what like I really don't care about because I'm not really afraid of just telling the truth and like putting stuff out there. But for other people that have other things going on, I'm not trying to put them in, any
Right, right,
type
right.
of
Of course.
position. But paperwork is paperwork. So there's but basically, I'll just like really briefly say there was a very outrageous claim that was proven to be unfounded, and nobody should have been removed. And they just decided to remove only the babies and not even the and no one else. So it's like it's so ridiculous because it's so clear and blatantly obvious that they target young babies and children under like 3 years old and younger because they're like it's just a really disgusting when you really look into this and how many cases in which adoptions are rushed and cases in which, for example, like this case as well, if you truly believe that there was any type of abuse going on in a household as an officer of the law or as a CPS worker, you would remove all the children, would you not? If you
Right,
felt
correct.
like a parent was abusive, you need to remove every child from that situation. Why would you only take the babies?
Right. That's a big, big question because there were other children present in the house and they only targeted the two boys and took them and left the other ones. Why is that?
Because well, we know why, because they can make money off of getting them adopted out.
Yep. Somebody has a question on the screen if you want to
Um,
check it out.
Ask for a copy of the detective's duty notes, then ask for a copy of the reports. I mean, the detective's duty notes. I don't,
I don't think they would give us access to that.
I don't understand even what that. If it, first of all, that detective isn't going to give me anything. Okay, he would never. Nor do I believe any officer would ever give me anything. The only thing that you could occasionally obtain, and I have obtained like police reports before in Bakersfield. I know exactly where to go to get those. But in such a high profile case like this, um, there's no way that they would. I mean, you can't get police reports for investigations that are currently open or ongoing. I would say pretty much ever. Um, so yeah, as far as me personally getting anything from the police, I just doubt. I just doubt as though they would give me anything like that.
Right. This person has another question.
So then the next question is: has anybody done a research background check on the judge? Oh, here with the judges. That you are the cases with the same officers and CPS caseworkers involved. Is there a pattern? Um, it doesn't appear even to be necessarily the same exact judge. So I mean, I just don't understand why. Do you understand, Steve, what this judges thing is about? Why people are hung up on the judges?
Well, I think folks are trying to see if there's, a pattern. Maybe if there's other children that this happened to other than just the boys. I mean, we're shedding a lot of light on this whole situation with the boys, but I think people want to know, like, are there other people, maybe other children that the same judge or the same cop or same CPS workers might have all, been involved with something. I don't. That's the way I'm taking it. And
Yeah.
the only reason why
And
I'm
then
taking it like that because so many
okay,
people
and
has
then like
hit me up.
Lisa Bayer wrote, detectives' notes are evidentiary evidence and are part of the discovery. Request it, put that in your request. Okay, if you're talking about like what there you can't obtain a discovery or a FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act, while a case is open. And what that you ask the FBI. I have. If you contact the FBI and you ask them the stipulations on FOIAs, right?
Mhm.
You can't obtain them while a case is ongoing.
Well, it's an
Once
active
a case
case,
is
right?
closed, you can request the FOIA, and sometimes they will give it to you, but highly redacted, of course, and you
Right.
have to pay for it. And there's all these other things that go along with it. But I don't know if people are under the impression that, you know, you can get case files and information like this while an investigation is
No.
ongoing. But let me tell you that it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, they won't release anything as long as the case is still
Absolutely
active.
not.
And then even when it's not active, they won't give you everything. I mean, I've done a lot of public records requests and they're supposed to give it to you, but they a lot of times they won't, especially if it's something that they don't want out
Oh
there.
my gosh. And then Jeanette Hines said, why are you so anti the Judge Avenue culture? I'm not anti the Judge Avenue. What I'm saying, if there was a good reason for me to invest a lot of time researching that, then I would. But I just, that's why I was asking why. I mean, I don't know why. I just didn't know why it was such a hot topic, as if there was some information that led people to believe that there was. Because most likely, I would imagine the judge just looked over the case files and said, you know, okay, if you look at any courthouse and how many cases that they have every day, I know that judges never like go and investigate. They just go off of basically whatever is in the report that has been handled to them.
I
So
posted another question on the screen if you want to take a look at that. And then we have another one. Somebody's asking, has anybody heard the 911 calls that the parents made when the boys went missing?
no, you everyone knows
Right.
that. Well, I guess everyone doesn't know, but I it's been a big deal with, you know, in my channel. I've talked about it so many times, is that I contacted the Kern County Sheriff's Department very early on in this case, and I recorded the call and I
I
put it up
remember.
on my channel, and and the whole purpose of that call is because I wanted to obtain the 911 call and the body cam footage if there was any, because sometimes even while the case is open, it's like sometimes depending on the situation you're able to obtain that information, and other times they say not if it's ongoing. But that's been a whole big disaster, because once I got an incident number and I put in a request for the information, I had to speak to the lady in charge of the Kern County Sheriff's. She actually, in that same video, I was given her number to speak to her directly. And upon receiving that, I she was able to tell me that it didn't exist in her system, and she thought I had the number wrong. I said, "Ma'am, I recorded the call, so there's no way the number's wrong." Like the lady that I spoke to, and they said, she said she was just looking. She was like, "Oh my gosh," she said, "Well, I could tell you that I've never seen this before. I mean, I've heard of it." She's like, I guess California City must have taken the file. Like nobody else has access to it anymore. So anything to do with that call, like, is so nobody can access it, is what I'm being told. So I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know if at Rose Lane, who's oh, I don't know. I just saw my name in the chat, but yeah,
Okay.
you know what? And I don't know. I do want to eventually become like, hopefully I'll be able to be like a private investigator and be certified and licensed, and then I will be able to do slightly more when it comes to research and to having access to certain like court things. I know that private investigators to have a little bit more information than just the average person, because right now, I mean,
Mhm.
I'm just a girl with Wi-Fi like everybody else. So aside from you know, the paperwork that we were able to get pertaining to this case directly from the parent, I've just been using you know,
Mhm.
common sense and research. Someone, what on the screen, it says the judge is the last person he could have said remove or not. Why didn't he ask why the other boys were not taken? I mean, I don't, the only thing that I can assume is that the judge is going off of the request of the child services and police officers. Like that's what they're going to be heading the judge. I'm not saying that there aren't judges that aren't corrupt. Who knows? There are judges that work with cops sometimes. I mean, who knows? There's a
Right.
lot of cases, and I'm sure that there's a lot of corrupt people. I just don't know. But the only reason, like, we got 24 hours in a day, right? And I try to use my time very wisely. And right now, the main focus is having a detective in charge of the case, leading the investigation, that cares about finding these babies. So once we get this officer to step down, and an officer who is going to be in charge of the case with no prior involvement to make sure that they aren't found, or a desire to make sure that they're not found, then I can worry about judges and everything else. But if anybody else that feels that judges are the what we should be looking at, then I suggest that they research Bakersfield judges and see what they can come up with. But I mean, I don't know if I'll look into it, but I can't look into that like right away, because I've got like a list of high priority things that we need to take care of, to make sure that these babies are at least have a fair chance.
Right. Okay, guys. So this is what we'll do now is I'm gonna put the number up on the screen. You guys can call in. Feel free to call in if you have any questions or concerns. Now is that time to do so. Phone number is right there on the bottom of the screen, 661-299-7521. Keep in mind, when you call in, you will be live. Everyone will be able to hear you. So 661-299-7521. And there is Paul. Okay, so we have Mr. Dotsy. He just joined. He's in the back room right now. I'm going to put him up here to the front. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, let's hey Paul, you're gonna have to turn your phone down, that way we don't have the feedback coming through the live stream if you can.
Yeah, my phone is not, it's off.
Okay, there's something in the background playing. I don't know if it's the laptop or something. There's volume though, I can hear it.
Okay, I think, guys, hold on, let me try some. Okay, is that better?
That's better. Okay, so
Any better?
Paul, that's Crenshaw.
Yeah.
Crenshaw, that's Paul.
Okay.
Hi.
Paul has said some really nice things about you as well, Crenshaw. He's checked out your live streams.
Oh, thank you. Hi.
Thank you for joining us, Paul. Appreciate that. Guys, so I wanted Paul on here. He has a friend that he has invited to the platform, and hopefully we can have her over here sometime within this week. You want to catch us up to speed exactly what she does?
Sure. We actually have a little team of three of us, myself, Dr. Vass, and Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick, and we kind of put it together as needed. And Colleen is a forensic genealogist, and I thought that she has agreed to come on and do an hour or so with you, and probably the evening for if you want to get the most people to listen to her. So she does some really, really amazing things. And you may have heard last week of this young girl, Julianne Hansen, who was murdered in 1972. And the police department never gave up. And then, apparently they had some type of genetic evidence from 1972 because there was no DNA back then, but they have something. And it took Colleen 2 days. That's all, 2 days to identify the suspect and have him arrested. She also identified a child from the Titanic that, sunk in 1915. She's done a lot of cases. Orange County's oldest unknown missing person case. I mean, they had a body. I don't think it was a homicide, but she solved that one too here not too long ago. So she literally wrote the book on forensic genealogy. So it not only is it DNA, and she was one of the first persons to go into GEDmatch, which is the public DNA database, to identify a murder suspect, and it was very controversial. She got beat up pretty good, but now it's becoming more mainstream in that area. And so anyhow, I think the listeners here will have a great time listening to her and explaining some what she does. It's not only DNA, but it's through old newspaper clippings and stuff. She subscribes to all these different newspapers that have, they keep the old editions and everything. Newspapers.com, I think, is one of them. And so putting all this technology together, she's been, really successful. We've known each other for many years. It's interesting that we wanted to meet. I wanted to meet her way back in the day on a case I did where we're using, some really advanced science on identifying a murder victim. And she wanted to meet me because, it had never been done before, which is a lot of stuff that we do. It's never been done before. Now I was using stable isotope analysis to try to find where this person was from. And so I could go into great detail on that. But Steve has the copy of it made the cover of Forensic Magazine. So that's my claim to fame. Anyhow, but had a lot of help from a lot of great people. So Steve knows all about that. But anyhow, so sometimes this week we'll have her on and people can ask questions. I think she can lay out just a lot of cases that she's done. She's always jetting off somewhere in the country or over to Europe or something, but it should work out.
Right. Now, I have a question for you. I talk to you almost every day, and I know just one little question. Have you ever heard of law enforcement pretty much controlling CPS on who to talk to and who not to talk to?
No, where I worked in our county, we had it was very well run, and we had a multi-jurisdictional program, I said, or team. So which included a deputy DA who, besides his regular caseload, he's the only one that did cases like, domestic violence cases and things like that. We also had, so CPS, we always work hand in hand with, and we would back them up, because you go in there and deal with it, a police officer with them. We never said nothing, that's their job and that's what they're trained for. They go through extensive training. And we also had, people from mental health as part of this multi-jurisdiction effort. And, police, and we had police officers that were specifically trained to deal with, rape victims and domestic violence system. And they meet, I think, once a month, and, everybody worked together. And our CPS was great. The DA was great. But we as police officers, you go in with CPS, it's really their job. We're there more as security for anything. So no, I've never heard of a police officer doing the CPS's job ever, or never seen it either. So it's very strange from what I'm hearing here. Maybe they have different protocols, but we had protocols set out that we followed. And our job was, if CPS wanted some backup, when they went there, because obviously they're unarmed and there could be some issues. We just went in there and just stood there and kind of watched.
Right.
Yeah,
Now,
but it's weird. But well, the officer was there first, so the officer was there before even CPS was called making decisions. So, that was kind of, I was like, okay, well, whatever. So there's these police there, and then the worker clearly states that when she got there, she saw the mother, but she had already been told by the officer not to communicate with her. So I found that very odd because I'm under the impression that it is the Child Protective Service agency and whatever worker comes out on their behalf that makes that decision based on what they see, on the child, and after speaking to the parent, they're able to make that decision. That's literally their job, right?
Paul, could you hear her?
Maybe not.
Yes, I hear her now. Okay.
I think she was
No, I'm
just
here.
talking to you about.
Oh, I said it's typically, it's typically, from my understanding, Child Protective Services job to make the decision on if a child is going to be removed. I mean, that's typically the case, right?
Yes.
That's their job. Yeah, not the officer. So it just seems odd to me that an officer would tell, a parent or a CPS employee not to speak to the parent.
Yeah, the whole thing is, with this is very strange. So I've never experienced that before, but our CPS people were very, very well trained, and we just worked seamlessly together. There was never any issues.
Right. Someone has a question for you, Paul. It's right on the screen. What's your routine if they are underwater, or if like if somebody else is underwater? What would be the routine for something like that?
Yeah, if it's a lake, I think it can be easier. Those are very difficult. They can use sonar. They've done that on some cases up here where we have cold water drownings up here, and because we're way up in the mountains, and they usually don't come up. Where it's warmer water, they usually come up after a few days. But that's one thing. Dr. Vass, he got one at 200 feet with his device, 200 feet underwater, and he was about 50 feet off. But with that much water, the signal from the device attenuates to some degree. But so that would probably be the best one to try out if you're looking for someone underwater. And you have no search area, just
right. So we do have an update as well. We're trying to get Dr. Vass out here right after the 4th of July, right?
Well, I just got an email him. It looks like it's going to be more towards the end of the month. He has some other things he has to do. So
okay,
I'll cinch that up with him. But as soon as he can, he'll come out. And I think if they're anywhere within, the device has great range, and if there's anybody out there, we'll probably find them. As well as there's a couple other people we need to look for as well out there at California City. But what's very odd is you hear all these people that are missing from California City, and there's only 2 people entered into the DOJ missing person database.
Correct.
And I don't know how that happens.
I don't either. I mean, that would aren't you the one that told me that if a cop doesn't report on that, isn't it like a criminal charge or something like that, misdemeanor? Or does it?
Yeah, this was back in the 80s. Well, actually, it's a misdemeanor for a cop not to take a missing person report, and that was in the 80s because I remember when I was really young in law enforcement, they'd go, well, this person's missing. He went to the Sierras to visit and can't find him. And so they'd kiss it off and go, well, they call the department where he lived back in Illinois. And then they go, well, we didn't have nothing to do it. Call those guys. And no one would ever take a report. And this was very common, kissing off these missing person reports. So in California, they made it a misdemeanor for an officer not to take a report. And this also happened when, a lot of, boys and girls get drunk and they don't show up for a couple days. And usually it's okay, but pretty much use that excuse all the time not to take a report. They probably get drunk and went off and did something like that. So now you have to take a report instantly, and it's instantly, as soon as you finish your report, you send it to dispatch, and then they upload it into the state database that this person is missing.
Right. Now, once again, if anybody out there has any questions for Crenshaw or for Paul, you guys feel free to call in at 661-299-7521 right there on your screen. Do you have anything for Paul Crenshaw? Anything that you anything else you want to ask him, or vice versa?
Not necessarily off the top of my head. I'll be listening and paying attention as he's on your channel, but yeah, it's, I don't know. It is a lot going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with this whole case. I mean, we were out there in Cal City, not even the first 10-15 minutes we got there, and Paul's dog alerted right away to a location right in the beginning, right as soon as we got there. So there's something
right
out
off
there.
where the white sign is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
right.
The thing, until we get Dr. Vass here, we won't know what. I mean, it could be a Mojave Indian from 1,000 years ago, or it could be a person. But I've, had a whole lot of experience in serial killer cases, and we're actually working one in the Central Valley now, me and my colleague. And they're always just off the side of the road. They drag them like 20 feet or something. I mean, every one of them. We have a road there that's probably got 20 or 30 people along it, and the suspect's on death row, and he's cooperating with us. And so then we go out and mark the places and GPS them and everything. And hopefully they'll do something at some point. But there's going to be over 100 for these guys. There's 2 guys involved. But there's another one. That road after the sign road. There's another one on the left, maybe a couple miles down. Went down. We're looking for a boy that is missing, and probably found pieces of him. But I think he in a coyote hole. But we think he was probably on the surface, and coyotes took maybe pieces underneath. That's going to be a tough one. But I went down the road and found another one just off the road. So that's 2. Wow. I mean, that's just driving in there. But with his device, we'll say, is it Caucasian? Is it black? Is it Hispanic? Passively do that. And I think he has some kind of Native American sample that may or may not. It's just from one tribe, but it's one of those things we need to experiment with. Like, will a Pomo Indian find a Navajo Indian, or up here we have Paiute Indians? So there's a lot we don't know. So that's when he comes out, we're going to do a little experimenting with that. Right. Crenshaw, can you see that question on the screen?
Yeah, it says, I have a question, but it's not exactly related to what we're speaking about. Has anybody seen Jacqueline or Giselle lately? I believe last week, a friend or relative of Rose saw them, in Bakersfield.
Oh, okay.
There's like leaving a grocery store, like at some parking lot or grocery store or something like that. So I believe they're still in Bakersfield.
Okay, we have a call.
Beverly?
Hey, Miss Beverly, thank you for calling in. You're live.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I appreciate it. I've been sending some messages on the constant, so I just figured I would call you. What I said to you on the message, it just boggles my mind that those children are not listed with the FBI anymore.
Give me 1 second, real fast, Beverly. I don't know if that's Paul. Are you sitting by a fan or something?
No, I'm not sitting by a fan.
I heard like a bunch of wind coming through, like a fan or something's hitting it. Or
oh, you know what? My headphones. Let me take them off. Hold on a minute. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. Okay. What were you saying now about the FBI and stuff like that?
I just can't. Yeah, I can't believe that they're not on the FBI. They should be wanted, missing, and endangered. And there's nothing.
Right.
And the day that DA came out, you remember when all the cars pulled up and he had a press conference right there and he acted like he was pissed. We're going to find these babies. We're gonna find them now. We believe we're going to find them today. The people who did this are going to be put away for life. He was, from what I heard, he was pissed off because he wasn't able to tell the truth. Now, I don't know what the truth is, But after that day, you never see a DA show up at a crime scene unless usually the DA gets called in when it's already known whether they're alive and they're being taken somewhere, but he usually gets called into the crime scene when there's a death.
Right.
Now, I don't know if they found them and someone said to the DA, no, this got to stay on the DL. We need to investigate our own people. It could be that. It could be somebody they're investigating who's high up and they don't want it to get out what's going on. Someone screwed up somewhere because anytime DSS, well, I'm in Boston, so we call it DSS, the Department of Social Services. Anytime they bring someone to court, those children, by law, automatically get their own attorney, which is called the guardian ad litem. So those children are legally represented under the law. She or he has to do what's best for those children. I have never in my life heard of a guardian ad litem transferring and adopting children out on such a short notice. I have never heard of it. So
Right.
what you need to do is get the name of those children's attorney. Because the attorney has all to say. The judge will say, whatever the attorney recommends is what the judge is going to go on.
Right.
So she and the guardian ad litem, what the attorneys do is they go out to the adoptive home. They do background checks. They're supposed to anyway. Do background check and do a criminal history check. But I don't believe that was done on these two because they've got a past that's shady. So
Right.
something's wrong somewhere.
Right.
Something is definitely wrong somewhere.
While you're on the
But what I was thinking, if we all got together and flooded Nancy Grace. Nancy Grace is one thing. She's brilliant. She's really good at this stuff.
Nancy
And she
Grace.
likes to investigate this stuff. So I would say if everybody who is online with you, sometimes you get 1,000 people, just flood Nancy Grace with emails about this. What's going on? We want to know where these kids are. We're not getting the answers we deserve. She's going to say, she'll even know when she sees it. She's going to say, wait a minute, why would they have dropped it out so soon? Something's wrong here. But you're not going to get anywhere with the cops. But I'll tell you, once the FBI hears the press is on something you don't like, they don't like to change their name. They'll be all over it. All over it.
Right.
But that's what you have to do. You have to get in with the press and get into it. And I don't mean a small town press. I mean like someone like Nancy Grace, well known for crime. You know what I mean?
Right.
And known for digging deep and telling the truth. So I would say on her next podcast, get everybody, myself and 1,000 people to just keep swamping her with emails. She can't ignore it after that. She'll send her staff out to do an interview. You can do the interview and just say, look, right up to me, and this is what we're looking to get. It's not a lot. We want to know where they are, how they got there so quick, and why did this guy state that they disappeared on the night that they didn't disappear?
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And and there's something about that sheriff there. I don't like him. He doesn't answer a straight question.
Who is that? Who are you talking about now?
Is that how do they call them out? See, we go by lieutenants and sergeants. Is he the sheriff?
Are you talking about the California City?
Yeah.
The chief?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's not, like, he can't be straight about an answer. It's almost like somebody saying to him, keep your mouth shut. Because you can tell he feels bad. But if he's in that situation, if it's someone higher up, there's something just not right here. I think he's being kept too hush-hush. And then to be taken off the FBI list, they're babies, for God's sake. They can't even walk a mile without needing the bottles. They're babies.
Well, Crenshaw was talking.
You know?
She said earlier that they were never on the FBI list, right, Crenshaw?
I've never
Wow.
seen
That's sickening.
for initially
That
when
is absolutely
I did
sickening
look,
because, I'm white and I
well,
don't want
no,
to turn this into a racist
not
situation, but
necessarily.
you know what? If those were two little white kids from the suburbs, it would be all over every newspaper. You know what I mean? It would be everywhere. And
Okay,
it's
but
just
not
so
every
sad that it's not.
Here,
Two little
hold on
lives,
really fast, Miss Beverly. Let Crenshaw's trying to talk real quick. Go ahead,
yeah,
Crenshaw.
not every missing
All
persons
right.
case is going to be on the FBI website. It doesn't work like that. Like, there was a really good comment that somebody wrote a little bit earlier saying that the FBI wasn't on the case for investigative purposes. They were only on the case for evidence processing, and that is something completely and totally different. So if there's certain reasons why an FBI would be involved in a case. Every time that there's a murder or a missing person, they're not involved. If they but if they have reason to believe that it's something with trafficking and that state lines have been crossed, or there's other key factors that would make them become involved in it, then become an investigation that they are on as well. And also sometimes people can ask the FBI for assistance. It doesn't mean that they're working the case or that they have agents assigned to the case or they're going to be on that website. It
Hold
just
on,
doesn't
Miss
work
Beverly.
like that.
Go ahead, Crenshaw. Go ahead.
Oh, that was it. That's all I'll say. But does that make sense to like everyone? Like,
Yeah, I think I can enlighten you a little bit about how the FBI operates there. So
Go ahead. Go
the
ahead, Paul.
FBI, yeah, this is really simple. The FBI can only investigate federal crimes. However, a law enforcement agency could call them to assist in a supporting role. For instance, at the house, it was undoubtedly the FBI ERT, Evidence Response Team from Los Angeles, that went up there. They probably had I don't know, usually they wear their T-shirts with ERT on it or something. But they cannot be involved in any state crime unless they're invited in. And or if there's a federal crime, then it's their case. So that's how it really works. Is they probably have a really tremendous evidence response team because Los Angeles is one of the biggest field offices in the country, and have a lot of resources that these other departments don't have, and we've used them too. In fact, I had to get a guy to go all the way down to Mexico for me on a case. So anyhow, that's how it works. They have to be invited in unless there's a federal crime, and they take over the case.
Wow, yeah. Thank you for enlightening us on that. All right, guys. If anybody has any other questions, now is that time. I see Matt from AB News Crew. He's in here. Thanks for joining. No, this is not Duty Ron. This is Mr. Dusty, Mr. Paul Dusty. If you've been watching the videos, he has the cadaver dog. He's came out here with me. He's on a couple videos, and he's going to be doing everything he can in his power as well to help locate the boys. Then, of course, we have Crenshaw on here as well. So we're going to be closing out here in about 5 more minutes. If anybody wants to call in, now's the time. If you have any other questions, now is the time. Please feel free to do so. Trying to read through some of these questions here on the chat. There's a question that I just posted on the screen, Crenshaw.
it says, has anyone spoken with foster parents before that would be a really good place to start? Well, no, there's reasons that not everybody can be publicly put out there or involved. Everybody has been spoken to. I think anyone that has anything to do with this case that has seen the boys has been spoken to by pretty much everyone. It's certainly by law enforcement. And unfortunately, the place that they were last, which is with the West, is where they went missing from and where we have the absolute least amount of answers when it comes down to what happened to these babies.
Bruce, one second.
What's up, man?
1 second, Bruce.
How's it going, Steve?
Good. Give me 1 second. 1 second. Go ahead. Finish up, Crenshaw.
Oh, I was just saying that unfortunately the place where they went missing from, which is in the custody of the West Home, is where we have the absolute least amount of answers. I mean, we don't even know about the 19th and the fact that we have only 2 people coming back and getting into the house. So I always want to know know if Wanda West even saw the kids when the other kids are being dropped off, but we don't even have the basic answers to that. Like, it's extremely frustrating. And now we have all of these cases where I'm seeing, you know, people being arrested even when bodies aren't found, and we know that the West family's been lying repeatedly because there's been contradictions, and there's some reason why law enforcement is not arresting them, and I don't know what that is either.
Okay, we have Bruce. Bruce, go ahead. You're live.
Hey, what's up, Chief? Crenshaw, and Mr. Paul. I just wanted to thank you guys, each and every one of you, all the hard work you do. Mr. Paul, thank you for coming on and helping Steve. You seem like a lovely guy. So my question is, you get the samples, okay? You start from I guess you start like your dog hits. So how far do you have to go down of your sample when you're digging? And then tell the process after that, how that works.
Okay.
And I'll just take this off air. Steve, thank you, man.
No, you're welcome. He's gonna go ahead and respond right now.
Okay.
So
go ahead, Paul.
usually the dog gets a hit, and then we want a soil sample, and it's more for the dog to me is 100%. But when you're trying to convince people to do an excavation and recover someone, that's a whole different story. So we try to have as much science as possible. So I'll go down about 10 inches. It's a little 40 milliliter vial with a septum on top that actually goes right in the mass spectrometer when that work is done. And I like to get it from undisturbed soil because it's off-gassing, right? In other words, dig a little hole and scrape it on the sides to get the soil in there, so you're hopefully capturing more volatile organic compounds. And so once you have them, in the vial, it's sealed. We send it to a lab, and they do mass spectrometer work, gas chromatograph mass spectrometer work, which will ID all the compounds in there, whatever compounds are there. And there's about 450 different chemicals that are associated with human decomposition, but there's about 30 that are human specific. And so we're looking at some of those. They've got big, long chemical names. Arpad knows them by heart because he's the only guy that's actually come up with all this, although there's other folks doing it now. At the FBI lab, one of his peer-reviewed papers is co-authored by a scientist there at the FBI lab that's a friend of ours. So, but once you have that, you show there's human decomposition there, and you present that to the proper authorities. That's a pretty powerful thing, because there's no other explanation that there's dead people chemicals there, and there's probably someone buried there. And so anyhow, it's just another thing we do. We do have a field test that we use, and it's for aldehyde compounds, that decomposition. And that's one where we just get a soil sample. We put some water in there and 10 drops of this solution. And if it turns, red or pink, it means there's decomposition there. Although it's not human specific, it's human or animal, but it's not going to take all the plants and other things that have VOCs in them. It's just going to be from that. So it's just another tool, presumptive tool in the toolkit that we use. We try to do everything we can. And hopefully after that, we like to bring in the ground penetrating radar. But you can't go to the guy at Caltrans that uses ground penetrating radar for bridges. You need an archaeogeophysicist that does that specifically. And there's a certain type of software they use in it called geoslicing, and those are the guys you need to do your GPR work. Not the guy, not construction guys or doing walls and see how the rebar is in a wall or a thing like that. So anyhow, that's what we use overseas, archaeogeophysicists. And there's actually several. Dean Goodman is the guy. Dr. Dean Goodman is the guy that manufactures this software. He's the GPR guy, and there's only maybe 100 in the whole United States, and they subscribe to his software program. And but it's really cool when you see it when it's all the data. So the machine gathers the data, then it has to be processed. And I've seen them like go overnight when we're in France. You know, get so much data, and then they interpret it. But it's all in colors and everything. It's really cool looking. And you know, I've seen it at a place where the dog alerted, and you know, it was actually a bomb crater had been filled in, and you could watch the 4mm slices. That's how thick they are, going down and all the way down to the bottom of the crater. And it was decomp coming from across the road. Actually, this was in Normandy, and so just a little bit of human bone up there was leaking down all the way down, and then if someone dig a hole there or blows up a hole, that was a bomb crater. That soil will be looser than the surrounding soil and it'll accumulate there and attract the dog. I hope that helps.
Okay. Did that answer your question for you, Bruce? You still there?
Oh, it sure did. Mr. Paul, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. And Crenshaw, man, just keep doing what you're doing. You've done a wonderful job. So thank you too for all that you do.
You're welcome. All right, brother.
Thank
You too. Bye-bye. And it's true, Crenshaw has done a great job. She has been searching, digging, and digging, and digging. And everything she talks about is all factual. Everything that she will put up, she'll make sure it's all facts before she puts it out there. Appreciate that, Crenshaw.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for having me up here and for, you know, just always too keeping like you. One thing I could say is that you've always had good intentions and wanted to get to the truth and weren't afraid to, you know, go where
Absolutely.
you wanted to go. Try to help find these babies. So
hold on, give me 1 second. All right, we got one more caller that's calling in. Go ahead.
Hello, Steve. It's Q Carlock. Hi, Crenshaw, Roro, Paul. I just had a question. I'm sorry. I think it's all Crenshaw's fault. She had me up for like 12 hours. We were on her live.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. But I did just wake up and get into this, and I just have to know it. I didn't rewind yet. Is Paul gonna do samples for the boys?
Yes, that's what I'm actually mailing those out tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We have samples for the boys. We have samples for Monique Figueroa. We have a sample that we got for Gloria Huerta. But yeah, tomorrow I'm going to be mailing out some samples tomorrow.
Beautiful. Are you done collecting samples for the boys, or because I didn't know he was in on this one?
There's one more location that I'm gonna, go to and check, but it's gonna be after we get the first samples back.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, we'll see how the first samples go.
Okay, I'm sure I would have heard it when I rewound it, but I just needed to know now. I'm gonna go ahead and definitely contribute to that. Anyway, I love seeing y'all together. I mean, I hope the chat understands this is a power team right here, and we're going to get some answers from these guys for sure, and women for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to hit you up. I know YouTube takes like 30% of that super chat, so I'm going to suggest to everybody in the chat, as sweet as they look on the screen, to do Cash App instead, because YouTube isn't doing a damn thing for this money, and they don't deserve a portion of it. So if you can Cash App, you should Cash App. I'll say it for you. See, that's the truth. And you have to wait until 20 seconds to even get it. So it slows down our productivity.
Yeah, but we'll still eventually get it. So anything that we bring in on the channel, we'll be able to help out with whatever needs to be done. Instead of, asking for help, we could start just doing it on our own eventually.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Okay. Great to know. All right, baby. I love talking to you. I did look up the price of those airline tickets, so you look for my email for Dallas, because I'm not kidding.
Will do.
All right. I'll Cash App you very shortly.
Appreciate
all right, beautiful people. I love everybody.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Thanks again, guys, for everything. Yep. My pleasure.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. So that's going to be the last caller for today. I do thank you guys all for being here. Paul, thank you for being here. Crenshaw as well. You guys have anything else you want to say before we end this one out?
I Oh, no, not really. I just want to thank everyone for having me up here and for, supporting us as we're doing what we're doing and looking for these babies. And we'll definitely be continuing to do what we do so changes can be made.
Absolutely.
Hopefully this will be the next step to get, a proper investigator on the case, and we can actually, hopefully find out exactly where these babies have been and what happened.
Right. There is a question I'm going to post on the screen, Paul. This one is for you. Can the dogs detect human remain if the body was burned to ashes?
Yes, he's specifically trained on cremation ashes, human cremation ashes.
Oh, okay. So yes, Patsy, the dog can alert to ashes. Anything you want to put out
There's
there,
a little
Paul,
more,
or is that about it?
to it. Well, if you get cremation ashes, that has been done in a crematorium, it's going to get ashes. Of course, the dog will still alert. However, if hypothetically they throw someone in a hole and burn them up, put gasoline on them, burn them, and then bury them, they can't get rid of everything in a hole. And I got that talking to Dr. Rick Snow. He's a forensic anthropologist I know. He was actually a classmate of Arpad's. He does all the exhumations of murdered children for NCMEC, National Center for Exploited and Missing Children. And I asked him about this very thing. I said, he says, there's no way you can get rid of everything if you throw them in a hole and burn them up. They'll be bone there with DNA, and you can recover that. It's a laborious process, and that's what he does. So that's the other side of it, is that if they're burned up in a hole, there's probably going to get some bone fragments that they'll be able to get DNA out of.
Right. All right, guys. You guys, please do not forget about Monique Figueroa. There she is on the screen. You guys do not forget about Gloria Huerta. There she is on the screen as well. And of course, do not forget about, which I don't believe you guys ever will, our California City boys. We're working as hard as we can to get the answers, guys. That's going to be about it. Crenshaw, anything else, or you want to put out there before we get off, or is that it?
Oh no, that should be it. I just, again, thank you for everyone that's here, that's watching, that's listening, and always, supporting us, because hopefully we're going to see some changes. So yeah. And then if people have any other further questions that they think of later or that we didn't see, they could always email me or you to let us know. That's important.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for being on here, Crenshaw, and thank you as well, Paul. I'll give you a call right now, Paul, in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Crenshaw, I'll talk to you too. Appreciate you for being here.
Okay, no problem.
All right. You guys have a good day. All right, guys. So that's going to be it. And like I said, every Monday and Friday, we will do the Let's Talk About It podcast. Give you guys the opportunity to call in. Today, we didn't really get that many calls, which is understandable. It might have a lot to do with this as well. My phone is doing an update. It started doing an update on its own. So I do thank you guys, and I appreciate you guys for all being here. We don't know, but we need to check. And Sherry's opinion, we have to check. We can't just assume. So we gotta check, and from all angles, man, we have to do the best we can to find out whatever we can, because obviously we're not getting it from law enforcement. We're not getting it, guys. So it seems like they're, I want to say it seems like they're doing a lot. I mean, you guys seen what they put down, all those search warrants and tons of people they're talking to, but this changes a lot of stuff with this guy right here. You know, so you guys keep in mind every Monday and Friday, we will be doing the Let's Talk About It podcast. Any questions or anything that you guys want to get off your chest, talk about, please feel free to do so. Today, I'm going to be heading out. I have a couple locations I need to go to, so you guys be on the lookout for the videos I will be uploading here. I wanted to upload a video the other day, but oh man, I get tired, man. You know, doing it all on my own. I don't have somebody riding around with me and video recording. You know, I'm doing it all on my own. So yeah, appreciate you guys once again. And thank you to all my moderators in the chat. You guys do a very good job as well. I think I don't know. Next live we do, I'm gonna have one of the moderators come on here. She's gonna talk to you guys about something that she has that she wants to put together, as a matter of fact. So, all right, guys, with that said, we're going to go ahead and sign out. Appreciate you guys. Tomorrow, we're going to be sending out the soil samples. And I got more in the drawer over here. You guys take care of yourself. God bless. And I will see you guys soon. Remember, think about your questions. This Friday coming up, we will do another panel. Let's talk about it. All right, guys, I'm out of here.